Immigration law is probably the most complicated area of law in the United States. So you see these categories are very backlogged, and it can be very hard to immigrate legally to the United States. Part of the problem about our immigration system and why it's so complicated is we do not have one agency dealing with immigration. When you think about environmental problems in the United States, for example, the Environmental Protection Agency deals with all environmental issues. We do not have a similar agency for immigration. The Department of Homeland Security is the main agency that deals with immigration, but within DHS there are 3 separate immigration branches. And this year we're certainly not going to have immigration reform in our Congress. We'll have to wait to see what happens next year. In the meantime, President Obama, frustrated by Congress's inability to do anything on immigration reform, has tried to do things administratively. The 2 presidential candidates reflect our ambivalence about immigration. Donald Trump, the Republican nominee, has called for a crackdown on illegal immigrants, saying that they compete against vulnerable American workers. He wants to cut back on legal immigration to make sure that jobs go first to American workers. Hillary Clinton, his Democratic rival, takes a more optimistic view about immigration, saying that immigrants help our economy. They create new jobs that employ U.S. workers. So both of them are looking at the immigration issue, but one says it's half full and the other says it's half empty. So let's explore the candidates' positions on immigration more closely. What would be the impact of these 2 candidates if they get elected as president? Well, President Trump would make sure that we reduce immigration overall. We'd have less immigration than we currently do. That would have a large demographic effect over the long term in the United States. Reduce the population growth. It would be harder for foreigners to get jobs and supposedly easier for U.S. workers to get jobs. He would want more vetting of people coming to the United States from certain Muslim countries, what he calls extreme vetting. It already takes 2 years for refugees to get vetted to come into the United States, but apparently he would like even more extreme vetting of those people and/or impose a temporary suspension on immigration from Muslim countries. He would target Mexico as a major source of illegal immigration, and by building his wall, supposedly prevent illegal immigration from Mexico. He would decrease the number of refugees coming into the United States, and he would end the visa lottery. And he would certainly increase enforcement of our immigration laws. He would try to make sure we deport more than the current 300 to 400,000 people a year. So he would have to increase the number of immigration removal agents in the United States. By contrast, the impact of President Clinton on immigration is much more positive. She would try to expand immigration to the United States. She would reform our broken immigration system. She would try to make sure that we do enforce our immigration laws, but that we prioritize our enforcement on criminal aliens, and that we would not go after people who have violated our civil immigration laws but have not committed any crimes in the United States. She would try to make sure that we do more to help refugees fleeing the gang violence in Central America. 60,000 women and children recently came from those countries into the United States seeking asylum. And so far, we're detaining them to try to send a deterrent message to other people not to come to the United States. She would say, if they meet the legal test to be a refugee, we should welcome them, we should not be detaining them. So she would continue President Obama's legacy on executive actions. So whether President Trump gets elected or President Clinton gets elected, they cannot make changes unilaterally. Even if anything gets through Congress and gets through court, it's still going to take time to have the changes actually implemented. The Immigration Agency is going to have to publish regulations implementing these legislative changes, and that takes time. So don't worry, nothing's really going to happen in 2017. Also, you have to focus on what the actual changes might be rather than what the sound bites and the rhetoric are. There are a lot of rhetoric about building a wall or deporting all illegal aliens. But those are just sound bites for TV. When it comes down to actually making changes, you can't do something that easily or that quickly. So don't worry about that as well, too. So, the other thing you should remember is the great motto on the seal of the United States. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. We are a country of one, made up of many strands from many different countries. And as long as we remember that, remember the diversity and the benefits that immigration bring to us, we will do better